Back here, 615 Sessions podcast from the DraftKings Sportsbook studios. Well, I am from the DraftKings Sportsbook studios. Emily is very professionally decked out in a blazer from WKRN News 2. Joe Rexrode is in a room where he is, what are you wearing on your shirt? The Beastie Boys. Joe Rexrode.
Check your head, baby.
Of The Athletic. Emily Proud of WKRN News 2. All right, so we were getting ready to start the podcast, or I was getting ready to start the podcast, and then all of a sudden Emily noticed that Rexrode has a picture of his face behind him that I'm going to make you go get right now.
And really, there's not enough of my face, out there, I think. So
no. A lot of face. So Rexrode is going for the audio audience. He is fetching.
Oh, all face, no neck.
All face, no neck. Team Rexrode Samoa's box. Obviously of Girl Scout cookie fame. So now, yes. Rexrode, you may tell the story since I can use it for content.
Yeah, so Brad Schmidt and I, my buddy and former coworker at the Tennessean, we got into a big argument. I think we got an argument in the newsroom. I think it's how it started, about the best Girl Scout cookie. And I know most people like Thin Mints. I think Samoa is the greatest cookie ever made. So we had a little debate, and a local Girl Scouts troop came to the office, showed up with those, one for him, one for me, and also with a bunch of cookies, and I ate most of them. There's my story.
Emily, are the Samoas the greatest of the Girl Scout cookie?
Yeah, there's not much more to say about that. I thought that I would disagree with a take of Joe Rexrode's, but I completely agree. Samoa's the greatest.
Are they the coconut ones?
Yes.
I hate
the caramel.
I hate coconut.
So do I. That's why they're so great. They make me like coconut. That's how good they are. I don't like coconut either, other than on Samoa's.
No, the Girl Scouts are absolute mercenaries. They fight, they hunt you down. It's like a pack of African wild dogs that you watch on Nat Geo. They'll like split you up, they'll divide and conquer, and then they'll just pin you down in a place where you have to buy a box of the Thin Mints. I like Thin Mints, but they hurt my stomach. Too many Thin Mints. I eat too many of them, and then it hurts my stomach. Which is
people don't talk about tag-alongs enough. That's my number 2.
Yes.
But
yeah, chocolate peanut butter. I was a former brownie, which is a pretty, I don't know, high ranking, medium ranking in the world of Girl Scouts. So all the bashing that you were just doing of Girl Scouts, I felt.
Thanks. The vicious side of Emily Proud. So we're going to talk about sports at some point over the course of this podcast. Vols-Vandy baseball had a really, really fun series, maybe not terribly competitive, or at least as competitive as people would like to make it seem. But the Vols and Vandy at Lindsey Nelson Stadium over the weekend, Vandy taking the series. We're also going to spend some time on the NFL draft, 10 days away at the time of this podcast taping. So everybody freaked the hell out. But were either of you in attendance? Joe, were you at Lindsey Nelson Stadium?
I sure was for the first 2. So
okay.
Yeah. It
was well, go ahead. What were your observations?
Great. It was great. It was they said it was about 50% packed, but I swear the place was at least 2/3 full. That's what it seemed to me. I did not get to see live the mullet luging, but I did see that on Twitter, and I would not advise that during or not during a pandemic. But hey, I guess it's better than butt chugging, right? Can we say that? It's better than butt chugging.
This is your university, Emily. Defend either the mullet chugging or the mullet luging or the butt chugging. Go ahead.
I engaged in none of that at Belmont University, by the way. I am not an alum of the University of Tennessee, no, but I guess being from there, yeah, it's amazing. They set the standard pretty high. So it's definitely interesting, but yeah, I enjoyed it. It seemed like not the luging, but I enjoyed the fans, and it seemed like kind of the first normal-ish event. And, Tennessee fans, they love a good winner.
For sure. Yeah, and they don't have one. They haven't had one on campus in quite some time. Obviously, the basketball team doing well during the regular season, kind of petering out. The last month and a half for them was a little bit of a struggle. And then on Saturday, there was no way, of course, that they could lose because John Fulkerson threw out the first pitch. But for Tennessee to have a legitimate winner on campus, I had Tony Vitello on the radio show this morning, and he basically could not stop, and it's his job to, but could not stop praising just how invested Vols fans are when they have something to cling to athletically. And I think you saw the results of that in the student section, mullet chugging and all.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, and I wrote about this and talked for a while with Tony, and he's going to be very diplomatic about this, of course. But, the Philip Fulmer thing and the Pruitt thing totally kind of halted the plan they had for what was going to come with the stadium. Philip Fulmer was very invested in that, and so now look, I don't think anyone can expect Danny White to come in and say first priority baseball, let's go, we're a baseball school. But I'll tell you what, I think LSU, Texas A&M, maybe others, this year, soon, whenever, might be coming after Tony Vitello. So I think the Vols should invest in that. That's, it was a fun atmosphere, but certainly like that left field hole, it's not up to the standard of the other SEC stadiums, and that's weird for Tennessee to have anything that isn't. And I think Tony Vitello would love to stay there and build a power. But you know what? An LSU comes after you, when they're paying twice as much to Paul Maneri as they are him, and they invest. I mean, they have the best stuff on every front. It's hard to turn down. So that's going to be something to watch. But I was really impressed with them, the way they fought. They gave Jack Leiter trouble that no one gave him all year. But then, of course, we also see how great Vandy is, and Kumar Rocker Friday night was just a snarling monster on the mound. But you know what? Both these teams could be in Omaha, too. I really think that's possible.
For sure. And I don't think the Vols benefit at all, Emily, from Kumar Rocker having such a poor performance against Georgia and then having to basically take the brunt of that, because I think you saw that in that 5-0 shutout that they had on Friday.
Yeah, he was heated for sure. You have to commend both teams' abilities to rebound. I think first off with Vanderbilt and Kumar Rocker pitching, not his standard against Georgia the week prior, and then Tennessee rebounding from what they did on Friday to be able to come out and have that home run derby, and Evan Russell in particular on Saturday, I think was huge. So that's always kind of been the calling card when it comes to Tim Corbin's teams, is they don't stay down for long. They don't lose back-to-back games all that often. Their ability to learn what they saw in a first game and take that into later in the series, I think is incredibly impressive, and their ability to rebound is great. But I think that was an exciting thing for the state of Tennessee in general. I think there's a sneaky good baseball state. I think, you look at things like, actually this weekend, I was talking to Woody Hunt at Cumberland University, which I know is not a powerhouse by any means, but he's a coach that is retiring this year. He's been there 41 years. They've won 3 national championships, the NAIA level. You've got a lot of great programs. I know Tennessee Tech was really good a few years ago, going to, a deep run in the postseason, and Belmont has made it to the NCAA tournament before. And so I think it's just really special to see a rivalry like that, and to see Tennessee and Vanderbilt competing at something that, it's not very often that Vanderbilt is known as the blue blood and the tried and true team in a series with Tennessee, but that's kind of what makes this series all the more special.
Well, I got a little bit of shit on the radio show today because I had Vitello on, and obviously the Vols lost the series, but just it's a loud minority of Vandy fans that come screaming out of the woodwork anytime that you praise the University of Tennessee, especially in Vanderbilt sport. And the more that I thought about it, it is fair criticism, because there's just so many more damn Vols fans than there are Vandy fans. So at that point, I'm playing the hits when I have Vitello on the radio.
Well, it's kind of like when people were calling UCLA a Cinderella story in the NCAA tournament. It's like there's so much rich history there, even though they were an 11 seed making it to the Final Four. It's kind of a similar thing with Tennessee, is it's weird to promote them as that plucky underdog that stood up to the big powerhouse in Vanderbilt. So I get it from that perspective. But when it comes to baseball, Vanderbilt's a standard. They're the defending world champions.
Right.
Well, Tennessee's worth attention. I mean, look, Tennessee just lost this game and they dropped to number 6 in the country. They have the most wins of anyone in the country. They just won their first 4 SEC series for the first time since 1970. So, I think Vanderbilt fans absolutely don't like the idea of certainly Tennessee infringing on their territory. This is their domain. But I think most people should be able to step back and say, how fun would it be if we had more and more series like this? I mean, come on. What? I mean, seriously, we've talked college baseball here for like almost 10 minutes now, right? I mean, when does that happen?
Record?
Never.
I don't normally, like, even as great as Vanderbilt is, honestly, I normally really get into it once the postseason comes, right? Now, I do think some of that is also the fact that they've got two pitchers who might be stars, who might be the top 2 picks. So that also elevates, I think, the excitement of baseball this particular year. But yeah, Tennessee, it is weird for them to be the like you said, Emily, the plucky underdog. But I think that they can really do something special here. And I don't think that they have to, it has to be a seesaw effect either. I mean, Vanderbilt has kids from California and Washington, and like, I think they can both excel and flourish on the recruiting trail and not really hurt each other.
Well, they've also got kids from Knoxville too. You talk about baseball in the state of Tennessee.
Farragut
is a powerhouse. Yes. So
I said Farragut. Sorry.
Would you Farragut? That's okay.
Yeah, Farragut. Thank you. Sorry.
All right. I said
Farragut.
I said Smyrna and Dolly World the other day, and I got dragged.
Dolly World? How are you?
What do you mean? Like you're spending a lot of time at Dollywood, Emily? Like this is something that I should know? Are you?
Yeah, Dollywood Splash Country. I had so many birthday parties there. Are you kidding me?
Okay.
I would never go back now as an adult, but it was great as a child. But
Sorry,
Smyrna,
Buck.
I know what you're thinking of. That's too close to Smirnoff.
She just accused me of being a drunk, which is not far off, but I don't drink vodka, just tequila. But let's move on from the college baseball conversation after this. Tim Corbin's comments are being just ridiculously thrown all over the place, not just by one side, but by both sides. And I will read the comment for the podcast audience that is listening to us, not just watching us on YouTube. Adam Sparks had the write-up. Tim Corbin, after Sunday's 10-4 win over, at the time, the number 5 Volunteers, said, "This environment here, I don't know what we're doing in Nashville, but there aren't many empty seats." He adds parenthetically, "at UT now. Let me just tell you, COVID does not exist in Knoxville. There are a lot of people here having a good time, and sometimes at our expense. We just need to do our part to play baseball. They created a very good environment here for baseball, and I credit them." Now, Sparks did a good job in following up outside because he could see it just as the same way that all of us who saw it tweeted out on Sunday could see it coming. He texted Corbin to kind of clarify his answers specifically on COVID. Corbin said they showed up to support their team, pure and simple. They were passionate, and you could feel them. So now this has been taken by both sides of the political aisle, one attacking Tim Corbin for daring to cite the idea that fans could have some kind of impact on a game. The other side saying, look at Tim Corbin ripping the city of Nashville for how strict their COVID protocols have been. I saw a lovely write-up on Outkick this morning, not from any one of the three knuckleheads that we associate from Outkick, but from some other knuckle-dragging slap that exists on the internet that writes for them. So now it's just so stupid, Emily, all of it, both sides, both of them. Anyway, so what did you make of Corbin's comments, and how, I guess, what did you make of it, Rexrode?
Well, so the first comment, and I wasn't on that Zoom, but Sparks tweeted out just the Knoxville part first. So my first impression was, Corbin's taking a shot at the Vols. No, COVID doesn't exist here, huh? No social, But then you see the whole thing. It's like, actually, he's mad at his own place, basically. So I think that sentence is sort of, that other than that, it's just basically like a coach saying, hey, I'd like to have a better atmosphere. I mean, I guess you could kind of compare it to some of the stuff that Dan Mullen was saying, in the fall. But again, it's also at a very different time. Dan Mullen was saying that stuff after Texas A&M when we were in the midst of COVID, far before any kind of vaccinations or anything like that. I mean, look, at this point, a lot of people are vaccinated. And so it sort of changes the discussion. Frankly, I didn't think it was that big of a deal overall. I think that he's frustrated that they've had, very, very small crowds here. I mean, AD Candace Lee immediately tweets out, hey, I want more people too. And we're relying on Metro Public Health. And they've upped it. And so the Vandy will have more this weekend against Mississippi State, just like the Preds are going to have more tonight against the Blackhawks. But I don't know. I didn't think it was that big of a deal, but it's also like, it's so much fatigue about all of this, including, parsing quotes from coaches.
Well, and I guess that's what it comes down to, because like anytime somebody says the word COVID, it immediately, at least at this level, right? At least from a public figure who is at a press conference and COVID is brought up, immediately some kind of meaning is assigned to it. Now, in this case, it's a totally reasonable thing for Tim Corbin to say, hey, based on what the health guidelines are in Davidson County and what happened on Friday night for Nashville, or I guess that was Saturday, but Friday night heading into Saturday's Nashville SC opener, now for the Preds. The city of Nashville has expanded and allowed these venues to host a greater capacity. Vanderbilt, I'm sure, will follow in suit to some degree. But anytime that one of these individuals, no matter what the sport, no matter what the platform, brings up COVID, it essentially just turns into a shitstorm on social media or wherever these things get aggregated in a way that it assigns a totally different meaning to the person who's just simply saying the word and not necessarily implying one thing or another with it.
I think that's what made Tim Corbin's quote unquote burn so effective, is that you didn't really know what it was for, and you didn't know what he was attacking necessarily. It was, one of those rare things where, when you pick a side, you really weren't sure which side he was actually talking about. If you were mad at him for getting mad at his own university, or if you were mad at him for saying, negative things towards the University of Tennessee. But I think, it's funny you bring up the Dan Mullen thing, because the biggest difference there was that his conversation and his words were coming after a loss. So it almost sounded like he was complaining and that we lost because the atmosphere at Texas A&M was so awesome. So let's bring in
sound
kids
like that. That's what he
help
did.
Us win. Exactly. Yeah.
That idiot said, pack the swamp. Pack the swamp is what he said.
Yeah. And that was in the height of the pandemic. There are a lot of things that are different between that, but also the sway of Tim Corbin. I think the way that you saw it develop from Adam Sparks continuing to follow up, to then also following up with the athletic director, Candace Story-Lee, and then her coming out and saying, okay, yeah, we're doing it. We're increasing the capacity. I think it was completely reasonable for Tim Corbin to say something like that. He's been here long enough and won enough to have that sort of sway. I don't think it was out of line by any means, but come on, this is 2021. Everything is politicized. Everything is this or that. There is gray area in debates. It is possible. It does exist. No.
Not on any of the platforms that I'm on, clearly, because it just people
get on some new platforms.
There's no
You're
more.
On every one.
There's
really
no more
hard.
that I could put, unless I'm going to come after your TV station, Em. I got nowhere else to go. I'm literally out of places to be.
Don't do it.
So transitioning from college baseball, it is obviously the ramp up, the pre-draft process. We are 10 days away from this godforsaken thing. When we can finally stop doing mock drafts, stop citing other people's mock drafts, trying to assign some ridiculous, stock up, stock down in a time where nothing is really happening to indicate that any of these players should go up or down. What is the most, do you guys enjoy this part of the year? Like, honestly, do you enjoy this part? Because I don't know if I'm alone in finding it just exceedingly frustrating.
I think when you say there's 10 days until the draft, I think that sounds like a lifetime. I feel like we've been talking about it for forever and forever. And yeah, there's so many different things that come with it. I enjoy some of the debate. I enjoy maybe a week or two of it. But I mean, just the smoke screens and everything. And people, for whatever reason, we remind you every single year, don't listen to a single thing that coaches or GMs say this time of year. And yet we do anyway. And we say it's fact. And if, Kyle Shanahan was saying this, then that means that the 49ers are for sure taking Mac Jones. And then now all of a sudden you turn on ESPN and it's, well, did you guys forget about Justin Fields? No, nobody forgot about Justin Fields. I mean, just the amount of going back and forth and how people say that their draft stock rises and falls. These kids aren't doing anything right now other than the underwear Olympics, which thankfully was not necessarily a thing this year. And everyone's doing their own individual pro days.
No, not thankfully. Do you know how badly I want to be drunk in a bar in Indianapolis with all my friends?
Yeah, but in terms of sitting down and watching the on the field workouts and stuff, I can definitely do it without that. But yeah, Indianapolis, wonderful city, wonderful state, Buck.
You spent some time there.
I did
recently.
I did.
Yes.
It was very different though. But I don't know, what were we talking about, the draft?
By the way, did you have Shapiro's?
I didn't. Cal wouldn't let me go anywhere.
What do you mean Cal wouldn't let you go anywhere?
We ordered everything into our hotel rooms to be cautious of the virus and the pandemic. And I was sitting there with 2 shots of Pfizer and 3 weeks removed and was ready to hit the town, but got to be safe.
Next time, sneak out and don't tell Cal.
Yeah. I mean, it's totally.
He's got the car keys. I guess Uber. I don't know. Next time. Next time I'll gallivant around Indianapolis.
Next time, hopefully there won't be no protocols to break, or at least no COVID protocols to break, and no sneaking around necessary. Rexrode, what about you?
Yeah, it's excruciating. It's just awful. I mean, I'd take a week of this shit, I'll talk. I'd rather honestly do anything else. And there's so much writing and talking. It is just recycling and going around and around. Like you said, Emily, a lot of misinformation. But then you also have, like you talk about those quarterbacks. I mean, Justin Fields and some of that stuff that came out, some of these ridiculous old tropes that come out. But then I didn't understand how people were so furious because Trevor Lawrence demonstrated maturity to me, like in his interview with Mike Rosenberg of Sports Illustrated. I mean, I thought it was actually a kind of refreshing perspective. I get it. You gotta love ball. You gotta be obsessed and all that stuff. Gotta have a chip on your shoulder. But again, if this is what we're talking about, it tells you that we have way too much time on our hands to dissect this thing. So I'm excited. We're close.
Well, my whole thing with the Trevor Lawrence is, yeah, very much so. Like, we are media people. We want people who are going to say interesting things to us on maybe not on a regular basis, but just something to break up the monotony of the press conference or the locker room or Vrabel or something. Somebody who wants to talk, who is willing to be, at least to a degree, engaging. And so I read that Trevor Lawrence thing, and I'm 100% with you. Refreshing is how everyone should feel about it. But then just juxtapose. The only reason that I got so upset about it is juxtaposed next to Justin Fields.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And how differently, just simply, as after all the shit that we have gone through over the last calendar year, after everything that is going on in Minnesota, after everything almost to the 1-year anniversary of the George Floyd murder situation that hovers over everything that we do, especially in my part of town.
Watching it right now.
Murals all over the place in North Nashville to this man and two people who have been lost to these kind of things. Just as blatant and obvious as it has ever been, the difference in discussing a white quarterback and a black quarterback in a way that it has bothered me in years past, but I just don't understand. I just don't understand how it can be that just in your face after everything this year. And we still have the same discussion as we've been having ever since this godforsaken thing, became such a spectacle. It drives me insane.
No, it's infuriating, and the thing is, like, I'm old enough, I was alive, like, when Warren Moon was just dismissed out of hand, which made no sense at all. He would have been a star immediately, but purely just like color of his skin. That's it. Just dismissed out of hand. Go to the CFL. I mean, that's just insane to think that's in your lifetime. I think things have gotten better, but here it comes again, and it's also there with coaching, with nepotism, with the fact that we still really can't see black coaches get elevated at the high college level and at the professional level like they should be, get the opportunities, get the networking. I mean, how long do you have to keep talking about this stuff before it gets better?
Yeah, I think it's more subtle these days too. When people think of racism, they think it smacks you right in the face, and it's very easy to detect. But it's all these, kind of subtleties and these biases that aren't as blatant and obvious as coming out and just saying it straight up. It's all these little things that you see with, yes, the difference between how the one comment from one person saying that they heard from somebody else that Justin Fields was not great when it comes to working hard, and he was, what was it, the first one out, last one in sort of guy. You hear that one comment and it completely changes the game in the offseason in terms of talking about this kid and who he is as a competitor. Yet we all saw with our own two eyes what happened in the semifinals of the college football playoff, and that he got busted and absolutely showed his fight and his guts and his effort. And yet we take this little thing and run with it. And I say we because, although I think we all agree on this podcast right here that we think that it's nonsense and it's crazy, but this was something that was talked about so much, and it's so frustrating from that standpoint. And then to see the reaction to the Trevor Lawrence thing, it's completely maddening, but it's harder to detect these days. But I also think I'm trying to put a positive spin on it. and that so many more people are coming out and exposing it and making sure that it's known. And I know sometimes that's misconstrued as the quote unquote cancel culture and everything. It's accountability culture. And so I applaud you, Buck, for going off on the tangent and stuff. I think it's an important conversation that we need to have. It's a tough one, but it's important to expose it when it does come about so people realize that it's happening.
Speaking of cancel culture, and I know they're never going to advertise with this podcast, so I don't give a shit with their $750 Smokey the Bear hats. Hat works with this stupid cancel culture billboard that they put in Edge Hill. Cancel culture before it cancels us all. Hat works, the hat shop that makes the witch hats and the $750 Smokey the Bear hats that Taylor Lewan wears when he wants to look like, like somebody who dresses up on a regular basis. That building that basically had QAnon stuff slapped on the side of, and this is not, I don't want to get anybody into waters. God. Oh, I'm gonna back it off now because I don't want to put either.
As I sit in a news station.
I understand. I'm gonna back it down. I'm just a little upset because I saw it on my way to brunch yesterday. But there's a billboard in Edge Hill as you drive down 8th Avenue South that says cancel culture before it cancels us all, from your friends at Hatworks. Like anybody gives a shit what you have to say about cancel culture first and foremost. And also, surely there is some better use of money that you could spend for however much that billboard just south of the Gulch costs for something more productive. This is cancel culture. The laziness with cancel culture and woke as terminology infuriates me.
Go woke and get broke, Buck. I love the cancel culture, and then it's like, and boycott the MLB. Oh, okay. So you're canceling them. Oh, I got you.
We'll see you out there, champ. Anyway, I think the thing with the draft evaluation stuff, or at least like the difference between people who evaluate for a living, who make their living off of these draft prospects and their success or their failure in the NFL, and the disparity between sports media in general, is that to go back to the Trevor Lawrence conversation, I think that and I don't want to speak for either of you, but at least for me, like I look at players and say, I would love for them to be well-rounded individuals. I would love them to be successful athletes and also have personality and also have a good backstory and also be good people and all this crap. And then the NFL looks at it and says, can he play football? Does he love football? I don't care about any of that other stuff. It is so far second to can he play, or is he willing to play? Is he willing to play through injury? Is he willing to, is he going to be ready for Sunday against Indianapolis? Like all of this stuff, there's such a stark contrast between the way that the people actually responsible for picking these players looks at the draft process, as opposed to the way where I will not include you two just for the sake of not knowing your opinion, but the larger NFL and sports media who discusses the draft kind of goes about the evaluation process.
I think there's some truth to that, but like let's take the Titans. I do think that the Titans, and I know it's funny to say this a year after the last draft, but I think the Titans, yes, it's about talent and durability, and put it here, and then everything else after that. But I think John Robinson and his staff have done a good job of creating a good locker room. I think they've had a lot of good personalities in there that have meshed well together, and I don't think that's an accident. I don't think that's just incidental. I think that they've actually put in good work on that. Again, we know obviously the massive whiff of Isaiah Wilson, but I also, honestly, I give them less crap for that than probably most people in this town, because I really think that his stuff activated or happened after he got here, and that the red flags were pretty mild. And even from whatever I've been able to gather about other teams on him too, not much, but I do think that the Titans have been better probably than some teams at maybe at times going, personality here. Now, maybe sometimes you overvalue personality when you take a Corey Davis number 5, for example, right? I mean, I think that you could argue that maybe they loved him so much as a guy, that they reached there, but I think it's been effective for him overall. I think it's part of why they've won in John Robinson's tenure. Am I off base on this?
I don't think so. No, I think that, the good thing too is that the Titans haven't just taken a bunch of what we would call necessarily sure things when it comes to just great personalities and guys with no red flags, so to speak, in their past. I would bring, Jeffrey Simmons up as an example of clearly you sit in a room with that kid and you understand that what's in the past is in the past. But that was, seen as a risk. I mean, as evident on, what ESPN did as soon as the pick was drawn. The 5 minutes afterwards was just spent talking about what happened in high school in his past. And I would say too, Taylor Lewan was also a guy that had come out with some question marks surrounding off the field things. And so the Titans have been able to take quote unquote risks on some of these guys because they've done a good job at vetting them. So for all the Isaiah Wilsons, there's been some really good guys that have come in and done so much for the Nashville community and have stepped up for the team in general. A lot of really high character guys. And I will say this year, the virtual element has to play a part in that as well. Also the fact that, we're in the year 2021, a lot of these guys have media coaches and coaches telling them the exact things that they should be saying. So it's a lot harder to weed through some of the bullshit that they tell every single team. So it does make it difficult, but I think a lot of that goes into like a good gut feeling and trusting yourself and trusting your instincts. And I'm sure we've all done that as human beings before, and it doesn't always lead us in the right direction. But if you stick to it, I feel like they've had more wins than losses for sure.
Well, we will find out soon enough, and it can't come soon enough to get this thing just finally underway so we can get back to, at least for the NFL draft. I will say this, it gives us something, because without football, I realize just how little there is now that I have the radio show every day and have the streaming show every day and have the podcast once a week. Like, football is so much of it, and people cannot help but consume it. So there is something to it, even as we who are paid to do it are complaining about the fact that it just is unending, the draft coverage. I don't want to keep you guys much longer with just bullshit, but I feel like we haven't talked in like a long time, and like generally.
Questions?
What do you mean?
Are there questions?
Questions about what? Oh, for the mailbag. Yeah, but the mailbag is sponsored, and it's a whole different thing. So and we didn't get.
So we're not allowed to answer them?
No.
I thought that's what it was.
Yes,
I was mentally preparing.
I wanted it to, and I wanted it here. So full disclosure, since we're live producing the podcast, I wanted them to be questions involving the two of you, but I did not get any questions involving the two of you. So I figured that the mailbag would be best served because it's just godforsaken draft question.
You thought there'd be like a Rexrode, why are you such a dweeb or something in there, right?
No, I just, some people like to interact. You guys get engagement, I think, every time you guys come on the podcast from the people who regularly subscribe, and they like the dynamic between the three of us and all of the different pairings that we do with the people that come on the podcast. So I was hoping for a little more human interest, but nobody cares about us as people. They just want to hear us talk sports, idiot. So,
Sorry for putting you on the spot there. I was excited. I retweeted it. I was like, put your questions in the mailbag. Nope, nobody cares about us.
No, nobody cares about us.
I mean, I can answer some Rondale Moore questions. The Titans should draft Rondale Moore. There's one of my answers for you.
Dude, I'm 100% down with that. So down. And I hate everything Purdue. Dennis Kelly.
Boiler up, Buck.
Dennis Kelly telling me going so far as to tell me to suck it in his goodbye statement to
That's pretty awesome.
The Titans fan. I read that shit on the air live. Like, I was like, do people care if I read the statement from Dennis Kelly? It looks like, Dennis, well thought out guy. I'm sure it's nice. And so just reading through the statement line by line on the radio, and I get to, in parentheses, after the Purdue fight song quote, "Suck it, Buck." So, I got good content run out of it. But Dennis Kelly and all things Purdue can sit on it because he got his master's from IU.
Oh, amazing. I did not realize that.
Oh,
very nice.
So it's a fraud. He's a fraud at this point. When do you think they're going to let us back in the facility at St. Thomas Sports Park? Like, I asked because the whole genesis of this podcast is so people can feel like they're sitting in the media room with us, basically, because I miss those conversations, even as Teresa Walker made it smell like microwave mashed potatoes every time she heats something up in the microwave. And
there's candy though.
There is candy, but they've hidden the candy back in the PR room. Dwight Spradlin has safeguarded the candy bowl because John Glennon just can't. I don't know how he's not diabetic. Johnny's been doing this for 20 years, basically lifting candy off, or however long Dwight's been there, lifting candy off Dwight. But when do you think they're going to let us back in the facility so we can do our jobs like we're used to doing our jobs?
Well, if everyone would get vaccinated, I think we'll be in there for camp. Am I crazy?
No, I don't think so.
No.
my
Where
hope.
will the media room be? Are they moving us with the new additions and everything?
Oh yeah, we are in the new wing, which I'm sure is going to be very nice, but we are as far away as humanly possible from actual football by design. So it's us and the sponsors that they've sent off to the new wing. And they're gonna, you know, I'm sure it's going to be very, very nice. I'm sure the accommodations will be hopefully a little more spacious for the sake of all of the smells. But yeah,
aren't OTAs? Can't they start today?
yeah, today's the first day.
Yeah, so we won't be out there for anything this summer, I don't think.
Speaking of the smells like that, I will miss, and this is going back a little bit, but like walking by Terry Rabisky's office and smelling whatever he just got for takeout that day. You know, like there are some little interactions like that we won't have anymore, I guess. But I'm pretty excited. I mean, it's been a little bit cramped the last couple of years, so I'm excited, and yeah, I hope it's by then.
Well, I assume we're going to still have to like walk through the facility to get to the auditorium unless they've designed like a special tunnel just to shuttle us all through like a cattle, you know, like one of those things they herd cattle onto trucks with.
Like a trapdoor chute that we just have to like a water ride or something.
Except
so we can't talk to anybody.
Except Terry sends him to the parking lot. Terry and Kaharski's. Yeah.
Who else do we need to rip on?
Who else
do we need to rip on the Titans beat? We
haven't mentioned Luke Worsham yet, so we gotta throw him out there.
Vrabel's favorite.
Yeah. So no, I think so. So we've had this discussion before, and I'm pretty sure Mike's going to be on the radio show after the draft. So I'm going to save this for him because I feel like the press conferences we find all the football shit out that we're going to find out. So I'd rather just bullshit with Mike and see if I can piss him off by wasting his time intentionally.
Isn't that what we do every week?
Basically, depending on how many times you want to re-ask, what's Derrick Henry's ceiling this year, Mike? But
yeah, his workload. How about that workload, Mike?
Yeah, that 17th game. Are you gonna play him less?
But that, I really do. Again, not to keep you guys later than we need to, because at this point, we've talked about all the things that we need to talk about, but we don't get the opportunity to interact the same way that we used to. I don't bring anybody to the house anymore to do the podcast. We obviously don't get together in the media room. We don't get together in the press box, basically.
We miss you too, Buck. Is that what you're trying to say?
I miss you guys.
Come on and say it, Buck.
No, I don't mind. Listen, I fucking hate Joe Rexrode, but I miss Joe Rexrode. That's okay. Like, I understand.
So we're all vaccinated, yeah?
One shot.
Yep.
One shot down. I'm double shotted up on May the 3rd.
Well, I think there has to be some sort of a happy hour pretty soon too, right? Media happy hour?
Yeah, but where would we take everybody? Like, not everybody's going to show up. Kaharski's going to want to be invited, but then not go.
I don't know what you guys did, but when we were on lockdown, all the ladies of Titans media hung out via Zoom, and we had happy hours once a week, and it was awesome.
I saw that, and we were all jealous.
Yeah, why was this? This is what is this bullshit girls club? What is the sexism in Titans media? What do you mean?
I don't know. You may never know what happens in the Titans media virtual happy hour.
Zoom.
stays there. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like, we can't. Paul won't show up. Tehran doesn't drink. So like, where do we go that everybody is gonna want to get together?
Not Broadway. Can I just say that?
I went to the Nashville SC game, and I walked across the pedestrian bridge to get my lift just because I needed steps. I had a big dinner and I felt like a piece of shit. So I wanted to walk, and the weather was nice, and Broadway gave me anxiety. Like, It is all the way back in a way that was jarring to me, just like the rooftops. And which is good, I guess, financially, but I don't want to have to do another virtual football season. I just don't. I don't want some new, like there's this UK variant and the South African variant. I don't want a Broadway variant. Like, I'm waiting for the minute where there's a Broadway, Nashville, Tennessee variant of COVID-19 that's been spawned in some back alley behind Crazy Town.
A Kid Rock butt chugging strain that we don't need that. We don't need that, man.
Tim Corbin clearly has not gone down to Broadway because COVID does not exist there either.
Well, I'm just assuming that they're all vaccinated, right? I'm just going to go with that.
20-somethings were first in line to get vaccinated.
Yeah. I am willing to put my money on the idea that the vast majority of them are not vaccinated, given the way that even Broadway was politicized in the middle of all this crap. But this is a conversation for another day. Emily,
are we recording?
Yeah, we are recording.
Oh, okay. I thought you like stopped the podcast and then we were just chatting afterwards. No, okay.
No, what do you mean? I would tell you if I stopped the pod. Do you want? Oh, what are you trying to take this off?
Well, you said like 4 times. We've said it. We've talked about everything that we need to talk about. I thought that was your way of closing it. No, okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, we're still rocking.
End the pod.
Buck is going to get lots of people pissed off. No hats for you, Buck.
No hats for me. No question. Emily Proud of WKRN News 2, their excellent sports team with our friends Corey Curtis and Kayla Anderson, Joe Rexrode of The Athletic, Robbie and Rexrode, 6 to 10 a.m. on 102.5 The Game. Thank you, friends. It was fun.
Hey, Buck, congrats on your show, by the way, bud. And I've said it privately, but, right here, too. We're happy for you. We're proud of you.
Are you sure? I feel like people are going to get people are already tired of me before an extra 3 hours a day. But I think.
Well, I'm not saying that people aren't going to get nauseated by your voice very quickly. I'm still happy for you, though.
Well,
Same. Congratulations. And they better clip this for the new promo as opposed to Mike Vrabel congratulating you.
See, I keep getting
a lot
texts,
more sway with us.
I keep getting texts about that shit, and it makes me this whole kiss ass narrative.
Teacher's pet.
You edited
Buck.
it. You walked down to the promotions department and you said, clip this, air it every opportunity you get, in and out of every single break.
Bring Mike Vrabel an apple every day. Oh, you're so sweet, Buck.
Fucking hate you so much. It doesn't run during my show. I haven't heard it yet, and nobody will play it for me because I've already had them yank one promotion that physically made me recoil from the microphone. But these are things that, I very much enjoy my second salary, so I'm not going to do anything to jeopardize the second salary. Get the hell out of my Zoom, both of you.
Yes. See you guys.